Hello, I'm Morris Dimba. Welcome to this tutorial. Today I'm going to show you another way of creating a footbridge using a special extension or a macro by the name ship ladder. Let's get started. And to access the macro or extension I'm talking about, just come to applications and component button here and click on that, and just type ladder here and click inside this dialog box. Scroll down and you'll be able to find it here. And prior to invoking this extension or this command, I want to put my parameters in place before I start using this extension. Now, how do I start? I'll first of all use a guideline. I'll come to steel and pick on steel column here, and prior to doing that, I have to check the dimensions between where I intend to start my staircase to where I want to my staircase to end and landing to start. Now I'll just place it right there, then come to edit here and come to measure just to confirm the distance between this point and this point, which is 18. This is the actual dimension that I want to use. Now let me just double click here and change that to 0, and I want to change the profile catalog of this column. I'll click on that, and let me just minimize that and scroll up to universal beams here, and I want to work with this one, 203 by 102, 23. I'll click there. You can also check the properties of the steel beam from here. These are all the properties of this particular beam I've just picked. Now I'll go ahead and click apply and click OK, and that's it. I'll click modify, and it will take the properties I've just chosen there. Now I'll right click and come to move and pick it from the bottom end here and take it to the midpoint right here, and I'll leave it right there. This is one of the parameters that will be guiding me in creating a simple footbridge for a two-way road, I mean road. Now I'll come to ship ladder here and double click on it. Double clicking on a macro means you want to access the dialog properties of that particular macro, and I've just double clicked on that, and that's exactly what I want to do, or to customize it to meet my preference. Now I want this landing to be, you can see the dimension here from this end to this end. I want this span to be 6 meters, and let me pick another option here, maybe 4, not 4. I want to pick type 2. Type 2 is okay, and I want this span to be 6 meters. That span should be 6 meters, and the steps here I want to be 100, and that 100, and that also, let me come back to picture. I want the width of my staircase be 2 meters wide, and once I've done that, I'll come here and click modify, apply, and accept that. Now my settings have been put as a default setting for this particular thing I want to just create, and now I'll come here right here and snap right there and target this far end on top here, and I'll snap right there and give it some time to load that. It hasn't loaded anything, and I'll come back once again and do it once again. I'll click right there and target the top end here, and click right there and give it some time to load that. This is what we want, and this is what I want to use to create the footbridge using this ship ladder macro. Now let me come back to view here, and I want to turn this around so that I can have a clear view of whatever I'm doing. Now I'll shift this position of this beam. I'll come to move and pick it from the bottom end here and bring it to that point, and select it once again by copying it and taking it back to that end. Now I'll press Ctrl and select the other one and right click and come to copy, or instead of copying individually, I'll use copy spatial by clicking linear and a copy, and I'll feed in an interval measurement which I intend to copy it along the x-axis you see here. The x-axis goes along this end, but if you take a look at the bottom end here, you can see x-axis pointing on the opposite direction. Now what are we going to do is to prefix our dimension with a negative sign. So I'll pull this slightly here and come to x-axis, and I'll prefix that with the negative sign and feed here 3 meters. And how many do I want? I want 4 of these columns, and I'll come here and click copy. They've taken a totally an opposite direction, that is off the position that we intend all those columns to be on. Now that should not be a worry. What we do, just click, don't expand, and click undo, and what we're going to do is reorient our x, y, z. Now I'll come to view here and come to work plane, and place my XYZ plane here in any position. I'll place it right there. Now I'll come back here and select these two columns, then I'll right click and come to copy linear. Now I'll try to do the same thing. I'll copy that and click OK. Now these are the number and the arrangement I want, and this bridge or the staircase that will be acting as a bridge that will be taking us over to the other side of the road. Now I want to adjust all these heights. Now I'll pick on this, press Ctrl and pick on that. Once again, let me repeat this. I'll pick on this, then press Ctrl and double click on the other one, so that the moment you double click, this will bring this property dialog box for the column properties. Inside here you'll be able to modify the properties or the parameters of this particular column. Now in this case we want to change the height of this column. Now how do we do that? We'll come to position here, and this is the level, and we'll target the top end of our column, and this is where we'll feed 2.3 meters, and I'll click OK or modify. Then I'll press Ctrl after clicking on empty screen to deselect what I've just selected, and press Ctrl once again. After selecting this, then press Ctrl and double click on the other one, and I'll come here and change this height and the levels and target the top end and feed 3.5 meters. 3.5 meters, not 35 meters. Now I'll click right there, and that height will adjust to the height I've just keyed in. Now I'll come here and do the same thing. Select that and double click on the other end, and that will bring up this column properties dialog box, so we'll be able to feed in or key in our properties or the parameters of that particular column. Now in this case I'm going to feed 4.6 meters right there and click modify, and everything will be adjusted to that height. And this one we didn't deselect it, and that's why it is picking up the parameters similar to this. Now what we'll do, we'll click undo, and first of all click on empty screen and come here. By clicking on empty screen means you don't want to include the parameters of this particular column with this. Now I'm going to select this once again, double click on the previous one, and change the levels or change the parameters of these two columns here under levels, because that is our main target. We don't want to change anything else. Now here I'm going to key in 4.6 meters and click that and click modify, and here I'll do the same thing, double click and change this height to 5.8 meters. That's it, and that's okay. And this one also will change this to 6.8. Click that, then double click on this and change this to 6.8, which is 6,800 millimeters. That makes up 6.8 meters, and click that, apply and accept, and that's all. Now the next move, we want to place our braces on in between these two columns. How do we do that? We'll come to a special tool called tensioner braces. Tensioner braces, just type it here and click inside here and scroll down and try to check whether what you've just typed in, because Tekla structure, the moment you type in a particular connection that you want, it will prompt you the variety of macros that start with the same word that you've typed in, and you'll be able to select among these. And fortunately we've got it right here, the tensioner brace and compression bar. This is it, and double click on it and here it is. And fortunately enough, I've done some customization, and I've picked on particular braces that I intend to use, and I can access them right here, braces. And the moment I've done that, I'll just click load, and everything will be picked as a default, what I had saved previously as my typical bracings for a particular set of this kind of two columns. Now I'll click on this and click on that and give it some time to place the braces that I've selected to be placed in between the two columns, and this is how it looks here. And now what do? I want to add some on top here. I want to add some braces on top here because the two columns stretched high to 6.8 meter high, and this only goes up to 3 meters. You can see that. Now let me disable the assembly, and by clicking this button here and come here and select these two. And once I've done that, I'll come and come here and right click and come to special copy here and pick on linear. Once I've done that, I'll change the x-axis to 0. Then I'll come to z-axis because our movement or our copying will be done upward. Now I'll be targeting the z-axis here. Now I'll feed 1.5 here under z-axis and click copy. And you can see here we've added another set of braces, but it has gone high above the actual height of our two columns. Now what do? We just get rid of what we don't need. We delete that and click that, delete, click, just select and delete whatever you don't need, and click that and delete, click that and delete, click that and delete. Then come to navigate and try to turn this around whether it meets what you intend to see on your screen. And actually this is what I want to show you, how to make or to come up with a footbridge using a different tool like the ship ladder, instead of just using for creating the offshore structures. Now I'll close this because I don't need it anymore. I'll come back to it at some point. Now I'll come back here and click close and come back here and invoke the same macro or the same command and click on that. Then pick on these two columns here. I'll pick on that, then press Control. Don't press Control, just select on this, then click on that. The braces will be placed. Now I'll come back again. I do the same thing by selecting this, press Control and selecting all these braces. Then right click and come to special copy and pick linear, and I want to copy this upward, but I don't need 4 of these. That's the reason why at this end they stretched all the way to an extent that they exceeded the actual length or the actual height of this column. Now here I just need 1. I don't need several of that. Now I'll click copy, and that's enough. If you take a look, only a few has been copied, but the rest has been left out, which is not right. I'll select everything here and deselect my grid because I can see it has been included in my selection, and I don't intend to copy it upward. Now I'll click copy, and you can see everything has been copied right, and that's it. What do I do here? I need another reinforcement here, because if I copy these braces up here, it will go off the height of our column. Now I'll just target this, right click and come to copy special here, and give it a 1.2 copy up right there, but it has gone almost off the height. I'll give it a meter high and click copy. That is the position I want it to be on. Then I'll come to navigate and rotate with mouse, and that's the position I want that brace to be in. Now I'll go back to the rest of the columns, and I'll continue placing the braces, and that's it. And I'll target this and right click and come to special copy, and I'll take it up a meter. Perfect. I'll come here and do the same thing. I'll pick that, and that's all about that position or in between the columns. I'll come here and do the same thing, and that's it. And I'll get rid of what I don't want. I don't want this, I don't want that, and I don't want that, and I don't need that. I don't need that. Now here we are, and the next thing remaining is just to connect the braces to the columns, and that will come a step later on. Now what we do here, we'll just get rid of the current handrails because they don't look nicely done, because this is a default setting, and a default setting normally doesn't give out something really appealing. It gives you the first option of the program, which is not normally your preference. Now let's get rid of this, and we'll place our own hand railings on top of these stringers. I'll get rid of this first. Let me just get rid of everything here, and I'm not removing everything, I'm just targeting only the handrails, and we are almost done with this. And let me just get rid of that and come here and rotate this. And you can also see on top here we have some plates that the posts were welded to and attached to the stringers, and we can remove this so that we have something neat to present to you. And that's it. Let's continue removing this as quickly as possible, and I hope this will not take a lot of time. And let's just get rid of this as quickly as possible. We can also leave it because our main target is just to show how we can come up with a simple footbridge using a special tool called a ship ladder. And if you're used to neat things, you cannot leave things like this on your structure or on your model. By your instinct will just drive you to get rid of it as quick as possible, and that's the reason why I'm doing this. Let me just get rid of these plates first of all prior to placing my handrails. Let me just get rid of this as fast as possible, and we get started in just a minute. It won't take so much of our time. And let me just pick on it, pick on that, pick on that, and pick on that, and pick on that. Perfectly done. Now the next thing, we are going to place our handrails. Our handrails will be placed prior to setting up the bottom end of our stair. Now how do we do that? We'll come here and type staircase, and click inside here and scroll down, and I want to double click on that macro or extension, and I'll pick on this choice, and I'll select on this stringer and pick at this far end, and give it some time to place some boltings here that will help us in anchoring the bottom end of our staircase to column bases that will be able to enable the stringers held firmly on top of this on top of the concrete that will be placed here later on once we are done. We have done everything. Now let me select on that, then snap right there, right click and exit by clicking interrupt, and also we'll go the other end, but we'll not do so much because once you're done everything, he'll just mirror this to the other end, so don't worry how this will look at the end. Now I'll come to handrails and just type here handrails and pick on the hand railing here, numerically known as 1024, and I'll double click right there, and this is what we have. And I'll click apply and accept that, and pick on the point on the side of the stringer which I intend to place it right there. Now what do we do? This is the point that we need. Do we really need to mirror it at this point? Not really. And I will just come here and click on that and place point the position. We can read at the bottom end here, pick the position where you want your handrailing to start. I want it to start at this point right there, and you can see the post right in the place. Right click and click interrupt, and this is what we have. You may wonder how this has come about. This is simple. It's simply done like this. Just double click. I'll double click so that we can access the dialog properties of this particular handrail, and this is how these handrailing are coming up. If I get rid of this and get rid of any number, that you cannot see that. And also the spacing of the post is adjusted right here. If I get rid of that, you'll be able to see something awkward presenting itself, which might not look something similar to, even close to, what we want to do. Now we'll bring back our dimensions here, 800 and 300 right there, and click apply and accept right that way. And that once that has been done, what else do you want us to do is to place some handrailings here. But on the landing part, we'll do that once we've mirrored everything, once everything is complete. Next, we want to place the pad footings at the column bases at the bottom end of these columns. Now I'll come to concrete here and come to footing and click on pad footing here, and I'll snap at the bottom end of this. And if I double click on this, you can be able to see the settings and the size of a pad footing right here. You can see it's a meter by a meter, and the position is this. It sinks deep, or it's deep by 1.05 meters of the 00 level by 450 millimeter. Now I'll close that. Then on top here, I'll place my column base by coming to concrete and pick on the column and snap at the bottom end of this steel beam or steel column right there, and that's it. It has gone way off the 00 level, and if I double click to check that, you can see it's negative 200 off the 0 level. Now I bring this to 0 level by tapping 0 there, and it will come back to that position. Now I'll pick on this and press Ctrl and pick on that, then come to copy. Then I'll pick a point that will be convenient for me when copying the rest to the rest of the positions of this column. Now I'll pick it from that position and place it right there. Now, just to be very much careful of our time, I'll select the 2 and right click and come to copy, and I want to copy this to all these column bases. And how do we do that? We can use a special copy here by right clicking, coming to special copy here and pick on that, and change this to 0, change the z-axis to 0, and we'll target the x-axis because we want to move this in the opposite direction of the x-axis. But if you take a look here, you can see the x-axis is pointing in the opposite direction where we want to go. How will we help ourselves here? I'll come to x-axis and prefix my dimension of 3 meters by a negative sign here, and feed the number of copies that I want to copy along that axis of x. Now I'll feed 4 quantities right there, and come here and click copy and see whether everything will be copied in the exact position that we intended to copy all those. Now that's exactly what we've done, and the next thing we are going to do, we want to place other column bases here plus the pad footings, and this will be done accurately if we manage to get the actual dimension between this point and this point. How do we get to reach to that point? Is to come to edit here and come to measure here and just snap at the bottom end here and go all the way to this point. And if we are not getting that point correctly, means we are not in the best position to place it. Now we can do that, but it will go slightly below the base of below the bottom of our 0 level. Now let me pick on this, press Ctrl and select on these 2. Then first of all, we have to check this measurement here. Let me just check that, this to that. That is 6 meters. Now I'll right click and come to special copy here and click linear, and change this quantity to 1, and I'll feed 6 here and click that, and that is the position that it will be, and I'll click OK. Now you can see the bottom end of our stringers have been swallowed by the column bases. What do we do then? We just select this and double click on the other end and come to positions here and change this dimension to -200, and that will make our position be seen properly. The positions and the placement of the stringers on top of the concrete, the column bases be seen, and this is how it will look like. Now the next move is, now we want to come here and select everything here. We select everything and we'll come here and deselect the grid because we don't want to shift the position of our grid at all. Now to make sure you'll mirror everything in exact position that you intend to, make sure your XYZ axis is pointing on the best position possible, and here it is in the best position that we intend it to be. Now we will right click here once everything has been selected, everything that we intend to be mirrored on the other end, and come to special copy here and click mirror, and we'll use this point as our mirror line, and we'll snap right here and snap right here. And please note that the distance between this point to this point is 6 meters, so if we mirror this, we'll add another 6 meters to make it 12, and I'll snap right here to complete my landing or my mirror, and I click copy, and it will give some time to copy everything the other end, and that's exactly what has happened here. And if I zoom out, and you can see that we've copied everything the other end. Now what is remaining here is just to place first of all disable the assembly, because if I select, everything gets selected, and here you cannot control each component on this assembly because you will be selecting everything and you'll be modifying everything, and that will not help us move any further. Now I'll come here and disassemble the assembly, and I want to get rid of these plates that were placed here by default when we were trying to use, or you are trying to invoke this extension that makes our way simple towards the creation of a footbridge, a simple footbridge. Now let's place the hand railings on these landings. Now I'll come to hand railings here and click on that, noting that the settings are still marked as default settings to every part that we intend to create a handrail. If we maintain the settings that we have, the Tekla structures software will mark it as a default setting. Now I'll select on the place where I intend to place the handrails, and if you take a look at the bottom end here, you can see you have been asked pick the first position, and I want to be close at the center of this post as possible, and I'll snap right there, and I want my hand railing to start on that spot. It's not accurate, and what I'll do, I'll just click undo, and I'll come very close and snap here, and I'll turn this keenly or accurately to make sure I land on the exact spot of that. And it's not accurate, and we'll just leave it at that, because the actual thing is our actual destination is to create the hand railing using the tools that makes our job, or modeling, or our design, or modeling in any simple in any kind of structure simple. Now I'll get rid of this by bringing back my assembly, so that if when I click on this hand railing, everything will appear, and I'll be able to control everything by a click of a mouse. Now I want to get rid of this. To get rid of that, just get rid of this 300, and I'll click apply and accept. Then we move to this far end, and I want to create another handrail here. I'll come back here and click that and bring this close as possible, and I'll snap on that spot, and that has not been accepted because this is considered as a handrail on this side. Now I'll come back and select that and position it on that position. Still is not is not accepting because everything is in assembly. So what I'll do, I'll select this and change this and remove the assembly, and now I'll get rid of this and get rid of this, because if we did do a mirror, and by default it carries some of its component with it. So these ones will be removed. We'll do this twice, don't worry, and as long as we get what we want accurately, that is the key. Now let's continue placing our hand railings. I'll come here and click on that and click on this, and I want to move as close as possible to that position, and these are the hand railings that we have. And like you did previously, I'll get rid of these default hand railings. Just get rid of this as fast as possible, because we tried to remove them prior to mirroring, and by default it will be carried. It will bring back its settings back to in place. Get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of that, and I'll come here and turn this round so that we can be able to see whatever we'll be doing accurately, and we'll get rid of these, get rid of that. Don't worry about the delay. The key is to understand and know what to do and how to do it in a quicker way without so much hassle and breaking your brain for no reason. And you can do this as simple as this using some inbuilt tools in Tekla structures. Now I'll remove this. So once you've done your loadings, your loading calculations, you can jump into Tekla structures, and these are the tools that will help you come up with a simple structure that you've designed. And this is very important. Now what do we do next is very simple. We want to copy these. We want to copy these handrails. So to copy all these handrails, this end will bring back the assembly. We will activate the assembly button here by clicking on that end and select on that. Then press Ctrl and come at this end and select. Make sure everything has been selected prior to copying at this end, because it will make you do this job twice, which is a wastage of time and is not really important, and it's not really good. As they say, time is money, and actual time is money. Now I'll come here and select on that and bring it here and copy it right there, and give it some time. If you can, it can load it here, and it hasn't copied anything, meaning that our assembly is still intact, and we can come here after disabling the assembly, and we can come back here and copy it from that spot and bring it to that spot, and it has been copied. And that's all, and this is how it looks. What I'll do, I just right click on empty screen, right click and redraw, and this will refresh and clean any unwanted component on our model. I'll get rid of this and get rid of this, and this has been done several times, and this should not be anything hard to do. I've showed you how to get rid of this by clicking on this individually, because we are using a macro that has its own default settings and components in place, so you have to get rid of the defaults and place your customized design. So normally you get rid of the defaults first, like we're doing here. We'll get rid of that so that we have a neat and professionally look on something we've just created right now. So this is specifically for those who are trying to learn the Tekla structure. They are in the beginning stages or in the intermediate stage of learning Tekla structure. This is very key tool to know on how to come up with your simple structures or simple designs. Now this is how it looks, and this is how it can be done. And now we are going to connections. The very key thing that you should never forget is saving your work. Is very key, because you never know what might happen to your PC or laptop. It can crash, the power power blackout can't raid your room and your workplace, and you go off black and everything get lost. Now we want to place some braces at the bottom end of this walkway here. And what I'll do, I'll come to steel here and come to steel beam here and pick on the beam, and I want to pick a position where my placement will be accurate, and I have to get the points that will make it look accurate when I come to now placing it. Perfect. Now let me get rid of this weld in this position because I want to see this place accurately, and let me get rid of that now, and turn this and target and see the other end. This also, we have some weld here, and we just need to remove this because we want to place our supporting frames to support the bottom end of this walkway family. So I'll come to steel here and pick on the beam here, and I'll snap on that end, far end. I'll come to view and come to navigate and rotate this at that position. Don't be scared because that was a scary disappearance of our model. And let me just turn that, right click, and I'll target this far end and click right there, and we have our channel in place. So is it really sitting above or close to our walkway? We'll take a look at that and select on that, right click and come to move. I will come to move special here, and we'll give it some offset or some slight move up by 50 millimeter up. It has gone far away, 10 millimeter, negative 10, or just get rid of that move by 5 again, and that's not good. It's some bit of clash, and I click OK. Now I want to populate this along this walkway. Now what do? I just select on that, right click and come to special copy here and click linear, and I want to populate this along the, first of all let me check the axis, how my axis looks, and let me close this first of all because it's creating some obstruction when we try to take a look or have a clear view of our model. Now we want to populate this along the x-axis. You can see the x-axis is pointing this direction, and we intend to populate this along the opposite direction. What we do what we did previously, and we'll change this. We'll change this to a meter. We'll change this to meter, and we need 12 of these. And I'll come back here and rotate this so that when we invoke that copy command, we'll be able to see actually what is going on. Now when I come here, and let me change this dimension to a meter, not 1 millimeter. That's very funny. Now I'll click that, and you'll be able to see this has been populated exactly to that far end. And don't worry about the connection. This can be welded directly or can be bolted, and that one now is very simple thing to do, because if you've been following this channel for some time, I think that is a very simple work to do. Now what I'll take you through is now to connecting these braces to the columns. Which kind of tool are we going to use, and how are we going to place it? First of all, let's place our column bases. Column bases. I'll come here and press base plate, and click inside here and scroll down and come to stiffened base plate. Stiffened base plate, I'll double click on that. Once we double click on that, we have I have my settings in place, and I can pick on this and just click load my settings here, and I'll go ahead and start placing my column bases. I click on that spot and click on that, and click on this and click on that. Now we don't want to do this repetitively. I'll enable the assembly and select on that, press Ctrl and select on that, then disable the assembly here, then I right click here and come to special copy here, and I want to populate these along the column bases here in the opposite direction of our x-axis. Now what was our interval measurement between the columns? It was 3, and we are moving in the right direction of our x-axis. You can see that it is actually pointing in the direction that we are moving to. Now I'll drag that aside and bring this copy dialog box here, and how many do you want? We want 4 of these, and feed 3 here. we need to be accurate here. We need to be accurate. Now I've fed forward there. Now go ahead and click copy, and that has been copied. We've copied everything here, and base plates are in place, well copied. And we'll go ahead and save that, and we'll do the same thing here. We'll right click and come here and copy it from this position. Make sure you snap on the midpoint of that, and since these pad footings are the same, I'll assume this is the right position, and we'll do exactly the same thing that we did in copying the base plate. I'll press Ctrl and pick on that and do exactly the same thing, but in the opposite direction of x-axis. I'll click linear, and now instead of 3 meters plane, we'll prefix this dimension with the negative sign. The quantities will remain the same, and go ahead and click copy, and everything will be in place, well copied. And if we follow up, everything is done accurately. Now we'll get rid of the base plate here and get rid of that. Don't forget to save your work, because you might lose everything in a flash if the power goes off or your computer crashes. Now our next point, our next move is to connect our braces to the two columns by bolting and welding. Now I'll come here and use a macro numerically known as 11, and I'll pick on that, double click on it just to access its dialog box and its parameter settings. And this is what we have, and I have my presets in place, and I'll just click on these and pick on my presets here and click load. You can see my settings here. I can just walk you through. You can see that, you can see that. Perfect. Now let's get started with connecting our braces to the columns. Now I'll click on this and make sure the assembly is disabled. In this case, our assembly is still on, and that will not allow us to connect this member to this member. I'll disable that first and come here and connect that. Press your middle button on the mouse, and our bracing has been connected to the column right there. Though there's a slight clash, but that is adjustable. Here, if you come back here and adjust the height of these gusset plates at the bottom end of the column bases. Now, just to give you, just to let you know, or to show you how this is done using a different tool. Now I'll come this side also and connect this. I'll click on that and click on that, press my middle button on the mouse, and now I'll come to this far end and I'll select this and press my middle button on the mouse, and the braces has been connected. I click that and press my middle button on the mouse, and you can see the connections really looks bad. Now we can take a different path in selecting the braces, how they should be connected to the column. Now what I'll do, I'll click the main part and follow this process and select and press my middle button on the mouse. You can see the connection is now perfect by indication of this green cone. Now I'll come back here, close that, and pick on that once again. Select this, that, and press your middle button on the mouse, and we can connect this and that, and press middle button on the mouse, and we turn this so that we can see the position that we intend to connect using braces, using the gusset plates against the columns. Now I'll pick on this, then connect this and that. You can zoom out and connect this and that, and you can see the connection is very awkward. Select this one, that one, and this one, and connection has been created. You want to connect this to that and connect this to that one. We are near the point of finishing. Select that and that, select this, and press the middle button. Poor connection created, and we can correct that as fast as possible. Select this, and that connection created, and this and that. Poorly created, and that created perfectly. Whenever you see the green cone, means it has been perfectly created. Let's have a look at this connection. It's perfect. Now to our last trestle here. Let's check the braces. you first of all get rid of this because it serves no purpose here. Get rid of it and just create our connection here, here, and here, here, and we connect this and that. Press a middle button and the connection is not well placed. We can do that. Connect this and that. That has been created. Then we right click and redraw everything to remove any unwanted symbols on our connections. Now we want to rotate this using a mouse. Now there's a central connection here of our braces. Now how do you connect this? You just type central brace, and this is what you want. Just double click to access this dialog box where we can be able to control the parameters of this particular connection to our braces. Now I want to connect all this and that, and press on middle button. You can see that connected, and I'll share with you the parameters, but this is dependent on still members used to do this. But still I'll be able to show you that brace 1, brace 4, brace 3, brace 2, brace 1, and the gusset plate, and the picture is there. You can always customize your kind of connection and save it. Click save as and give it a name. Save it and make sure it's saved, so that when you do the modeling, you don't go back and forth doing the same thing, while you can just do one thing and apply to all. Now I'll come back here and invoke this command here. I'll connect this and that, and will not come out because I've followed the wrong process. I want to connect this and that, and press my middle button on the mouse and select that one and that one, and it's coming out perfectly and neatly done. Just create that circle thing, or circular way of connection, because I am selecting this in a circular manner to create that a central gusset plate to connect these two members to our column. So this will look a little bit stronger. That way, that and that connected, and we'll go all the way up here and connect this and that connected, and any other connection will pick on the opposite end, and finalize with that, like that. And our connections are almost done, and this how we'll do it, and we'll take some bit of time. Which is not bad. Click that and press the middle button on the mouse and select this and that, and click a middle button on the mouse, select this and that and that. The middle button on the mouse accepts or gives an OK to the particular connection, so it will be placed right there. Now here we are, and click this and that. Perfect. I'll get rid of this because I don't need that. Now I'll right click and redraw. Now we have our footbridge in place. There's some connections we've not placed because they are simple and it can be done. Now we can place this. We want to support our walkway at the middle here, because this road will be a two-way, this way and that way. And some vehicle goes in the other end, some coming on this way. Now our column will be placed right at the central shoulders of these roads. Now I'll come here and come to navigate and rotate this that position, so that it puts us in a position that will be so much easy for us to copy everything like that, and press Ctrl and deselect the grid, because we don't want to copy a grid into any position at all. Right click and click interrupt, right click and come to copy, and I want to copy this to this place right there. Redraw, and this will take us back to rectifying other connections that have been reconfigured due to our copying. Now I'll come back here and do some connection. Click on that and that, and create, and connection will be created. Perfect. Now I'll right click and redraw. and get rid of this and get rid of that. Now if I come to navigate, I can be able to rotate this, and this is what we have. We can create drawings from this, and this will be done on the next presentation. What I can do is just to walk you or to fly you through this bridge, and you can have a look at it keenly. Now if we can do that by switching back to perspective view, apply and accept that, and we can turn this round like that, and we can take a fly over our bridge, and this is how it looks. This is how our bridge looks, and we can take it down or up, and we can climb up and down our bridge. This is how it looks. Perfect. Now on the treads, we can use timber or checker plates, whichever works best for you. So this connection at the far end here shouldn't be something that can take you so much. You can come here and double click here and just type end plates, because I'm not doing that because I'm taking care of time, because I don't spend so much time in connecting these individual columns to the stringers and the walkway. Thanks a lot for watching this video, for watching this channel and this video. If you're new to this channel, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Bye bye. I'm Morris Nimba.